We'll start here, though. My partner in news, Gareth Edwards, out in the mother city ahead of SONA 2023. Let's go to Cape Town and see what he's getting up to. And G, I see where you're standing, at least police visibility there, just also in terms of security. So I suppose those in and around the Cape Town City Hall know exactly where they're allowed to stand, designated areas for them. I mean, as Linda Mate also mentioned, that if you're operating businesses close to the City Hall, there will be a couple of hours that they have allocated for those businesses to shut down and to close just for the duration of SONA. But you're in a better position to tell me what else is going on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Tumza. And as we can hear the sirens in the background, preparations very much underway outside City Hall ahead of the State of the Nation address by President Ramaphosa later this evening. We got you quite early as well. And as you quite rightly pointed out, behind me and down the road as well, complete cordoned off areas. If you do not have access to get here, it's been advised that you do not come near the area. It is quite a wide-ranging area. Businesses that are within the precinct, if you will. This is essentially now a parliamentary precinct area, even though we're not outside Parliament, of course, because of the parliamentary fire early last year. It is, as some are suggesting, the adoptive home, but still very significant for the State of the Nation address, that being City Hall. And of course, I do always believe, as I look across the road, the statue of Madiba, the statue of Nelson Mandela, looking over all of us. Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi, good to have you with us. Good morning. Minister of Human Settlements as well. Going to be a long day for you. And I'm sure many people, Minister, if you look back over your very, very long career, currently human settlements, then we had, of course, Minister of Energy, Minister of Communications, etc., etc. There must be a lot that you keep a very keen ear out for when the President speaks. Give me the one headline. What's the one thing you came to Cape Town to hear from the President?
Look, definitely, I mean, for all of us, the economy is important, because even in human settlements, when Minister of Finance can generate revenues, it does affect us because we provide a lot of support to communities. So, and we've seen the resilience of the economy, but the issue around electricity, energy, security, load shedding, for me, how President articulates what needs to be done. We know what has happened in the past. Going forward, what needs to be done is quite important to give confidence that we will be able to generate income so that we can respond to the challenges of human settlement. But I say that because if a lot of people loses their jobs, then they fall into the categories of homelessness, where they start needing shelter. And you find that majority, because of our policy, then they don't qualify, they end up in your informal settlements. Because once you have owned a house, you don't qualify for us to build for you a BNG. And that's where the issues are, and the challenges and the link between the economy, people being able to work, and what we do in terms of provision of service.
And how devastating has that been, Minister, between COVID-19 and now, as you alluded to, the ongoing load shedding, the ongoing blackouts? Just how bad, paint a picture for me, is that scenario between those who owned houses, now have lost jobs, for example, because of load shedding or COVID-19, haven't recovered, they've lost those houses, and now they don't qualify. How bad is that situation? We drove down from Joburg to Cape Town, and there's a lot of people still living in informal settlements.
No, look, we do have, as I say, we've got more than 2,500 informal settlements in the country. And we say counting because the more people are vulnerable, some, yes. And the analysis, though, sometimes we find that almost 70%, as I say, above 70%, is people who do not qualify. So our project or our program around social housing, rental stock, expanding in that area remains critical to address that level of people who exist in that category. But also there are people who say, I've been long registered and therefore I would need to provide. And because it's a moving target, cleaning up of our data, but making sure that those who qualify and right beneficiaries are benefiting. So for SONA, for me, it's how President articulates around infrastructure, because we fall within the infrastructure helm, working together with Dr. Ramaphosa. So that's the work that I'm looking for, the articulation from the President, as I said, responding to the energy issues. Yes, pre-COVID, a lot of people were having better opportunities. We saw COVID devastation in the economy, but the third quarter last quarter that STSA released, we saw some level of recovery in terms of the jobs, but also in terms of the economy. So that's why I reflect on the issue around energy security, because if we are able to see such resilience despite having so much of load shedding, it does give confidence that once we resolve the energy crisis, then it means our economy will recover.
And I imagine then we as a country, as ministers, as MPs, etc., will support the call then for a state of disaster. If we can get the state of disaster into place, tell me what you think. Argument is it would get the power issue under control quicker and make your portfolio easier. So you would support a state of disaster?
Let me not comment, because I'm a member of cabinet. That decision has to come from cabinet with all of us. So I don't want tomorrow, if it's for or against, then you say, oh, this is Minister Kubayi lost in cabinet discussions.
But is it a good idea to your mind to do it, to get it done quickly?
That's what I'm saying. Let's leave it for the president to make that pronouncement, and then I can reflect after on the issue. But what I can emphasize is that there is a need for us as a country to deal with load shedding and deal with it as in yesterday.
There was some criticism off of the State of the Nation address last year, talking about the human settlements portfolio, that the president doesn't give it quite as much attention as it deserves. What do you make of that critique? Would you like the president to talk more about human settlements in SONA?
Look, I think sometimes people misunderstand. Last year he did talk, and the specific area of emphasis and areas where he highlighted was around social housing expansion. So in terms of policy and pronouncements around the provision of BNG, there's been quite a lot that has been said. So we need to fast track the implementation. So it's around the implementation and the work that we do. But again, we fall in the infrastructure category. So when people listen to the president speaking more around support for infrastructure, even later if you hear Minister of Finance talk about it, we are in that, because problem is that over time people don't understand that human settlement is part of the economic development, because construction is with us, development in terms of infrastructure, when we talk about bulk supply, where it creates economic activities. So it's one of the portfolios that are an enabler within the economic space. So that's where sometimes people look for it as in him pronouncing on, for example, provision of free basic houses. I don't think that's what you should be able to expect. When he pronounces around work on the infrastructure, it includes the work of the Department of Human Settlements.
How worried are you as a minister and the Minister of Human Settlements that there is talk of the ANC as the governing party losing support ahead of next year? And I ask that off the backdrop of the importance of this SONA for the president and for the ANC as well, and members of parliament. There is a concern the ANC could start losing numbers. So does this make this SONA speech even more important than last year's ahead of elections next year?
No, look, it is important. This SONA is important, and like others, not only because there's a threat that ANC can lose power. This is where you start seeing, because we're coming to an end of an MTSF period, which is a 5-year period where we've made commitments that this is what, so it's a full financial year, the last full financial year before the term ends. And that's why it's important, so that we start taking stock of what we had committed to do as government and where are we in terms of delivery. I don't think the focus is more around election. It's about accountability. It's about us as the ANC going back to the people to say this is what we said we'll do and this is what we have done. And that's why for me it's important, the State of the Nation address. And I do believe that the president, where he's sitting, he will be taking it in that context, not only for election, but to say, I have been mandated by the people of South Africa to lead this country for the last 5 years. It's time I say this is what I've done.
And that's the report back as well, also the look ahead to the rest of the year, Minister, as well.
Yeah.
But there is always a concern, isn't there? Yes, we are expecting some civil society groups. They're going to be protesting outside the precinct. Of course, they won't be allowed inside. And quite rightly, their voices need to be heard, and they will be heard. And then some are saying there's an unfortunate expectation of a disruption inside the chambers this evening. It's been said as much. What's your view on a disruption inside the chambers as the president's trying to speak?
Yeah, that is unfortunate. I found it very unfortunate. My view is we debate issues, articulate your views. I think over time, I'm not so sure if they're gaining traction, this disruption inside, if they're a form of, they still have any significance or they have any significance, except the irritation. Because the people who are sitting at home all they want to hear is that is President thinking about us? Now you disrupt for 2 hours. These are workers who tomorrow morning must get their children to bed, must get themselves to bed so that they can go back to work or try and find a job tomorrow morning. So for me, honestly speaking, I don't think it's in the interest of South Africans. We do have a platform where we debate, which is next week. Full 2 days, members of parliament will articulate and reflect on what the president has done. And that's why for me, my appeal to my colleagues in parliament, fellow parliamentarians, would be, yes, articulate what you want, but be less disruptive and allow South Africans to hear from the men that they have given the responsibility to lead this country, to say to them, what has he done? Can he account to them? Allow him to account to the nation, but also allow him to give that articulation of what is it that they can expect this year. Just allow them to have that hope, because sometimes we miss it. We put it to us as politicians. It's not about us. It's about the people out there. This SONA is not meant for us. It's meant for the people there, because we sit with the president every time. We talk to him. Whether it's political parties, they have meetings with him. But South Africans have no opportunity to hear from him. And this is one moment which is critical to the women who are facing gender-based violence. They want to hear, what is it that he's doing? Is he going to increase police? Is he going to do more so that they can feel safe as they walk? They will be at night sitting in their homes worried about somebody possibly breaking into their house. That's the message they want to hear. So for me, I would want to really appeal at some point that, you know, let's get to the content. Let's get to the debates. Let's get to reflecting, are we on the right track as South Africa? Can we do more to work together, even with parties, to build a better country? Because that's what we need to do.
Minister, I'm going to say thank you very much as well. I expect to see you on the red carpet a little bit later. You'll obviously be doing the walk as well. I'll be
not
there.
Sure about that, but we'll look.
Well, if you're there, you're going to come find me. Myself and Mmamoloko are going to be there. And we're going to talk about the build-up as we get ready for 7 o'clock tonight. Tumza, as I start coming back to you in a moment, we're also going to be hearing from Aisha Ismail in just a second as well. My thanks to Human Settlements Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi as well, wanting to hear, of course, what the President's plans are for housing. In the end, it's going to be a case of more people are going to want homes to live in, and they're going to want roofs over their heads. So my thanks to Human Settlements Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi, also talking about this expected disruption later this evening, calling it unfortunate.